What's up, castaways? This is Miles Away. Welcome back to another video. Now today is a very special day because I have officially found my new favorite guitar pedal, the Meris LVX. Now, what is the Meris LVX? The LVX is essentially a modular delay system where you can pretty much design your own delay to your heart's content, modulate it, change around different things in the signal path, but that's really only scratching the surface. This is really more like a multi-effects unit with the workflow of a modular synthesizer. What I think is so cool about the LVX is that it tackles a pretty complicated idea, but in the most intuitive UI I've ever seen. In the past, if you've seen pedals like the Empress Zoya and been scared off, or you've seen pedals like the Strymon Night Sky and thought that's a cool idea, but I wish it could go a little deeper, I really do feel like the LVX is the perfect middle ground where it can really do almost anything you can dream of, but it's so fast to program on and you rarely ever get bogged down in lots of menu diving or memorizing shortcuts. So let's jump on in, let's check out some sounds for the pedal, and hopefully by the end of this video you guys can see why this is pretty quickly taken over my spot as my #1 favorite pedal to use with synths. Alright, now every single bit of effects you heard in that demo track was created using only the LVX. I think that really is a testament to how versatile this pedal is and just how great it sounds. So the next thing I want to do is check out a couple custom patches I made on the LVX so you can hear how varied and interesting they are and how deep you can go with sound design. So for the rest of the video, the sound we're going to be using is this really basic one on the Prophet 6. Awesome. So the first preset I made is kind of like a granular glitch that goes into a filtered reverb delay with pitch shifting. So it sounds like this. This next one I like to call Ultimate Destruction, and it's basically a whole bunch of bit crushers, tape downsamplers, and basically analog style delays that are creating an absolute wall of sound on both the dry signal and the modulation delay. This next preset, I use the LVX to create this massive lush reverb through two different diffusion algorithms using the polymoon style delay, but then also going into a specific diffuser after. And finally, this last preset is a cassette machine with reverse delay that works together to create an amazing lo-fi sound, kind of like something you'd find on a lo-fi pedal like Generation Loss, only we created it ourselves. So next up, I wanted to give you guys a full tutorial of how to actually program your own patches on the LVX so you can get a sense of how great this workflow really is. But first, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. Now, I've been working with Skillshare for a while now, and I really enjoy the ability to learn new skills and hobbies or brush up on existing ones. Skillshare is the perfect place to hone your creative passions and learn from a really large variety of really skilled professionals in their respective fields. For example, when it comes to video editing for this YouTube channel, I'm always trying to improve myself, and I've been really enjoying the class Visual Storytelling in Final Cut Pro 2nd edition by Andrew Gormley. I really enjoyed this class's different approach to editing videos and the fact that they covered more advanced video editing techniques that I hadn't seen before. However, Skillshare has a ton of different classes for every skill level, so if you're looking for something more beginner or more advanced, chances are Skillshare has the class for you. So because Skillshare is sponsoring this video, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get 1 month of Skillshare Premium completely free so you can start learning today. So thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and thank you to you for clicking on the link and helping to support my channel. All right, let's get back to the LVX. All right, so here we are with a blank preset on the LVX. It sounds like this. Just a basic delay. So the first thing to point out before we get into editing is we actually have 2 options for the kind of view we use, and both of them are excellent and both really deserve a shout out for how simple they are to use. So we've either got the text view, which I'm using now, or the graphic view. Now both are great and have their benefits, but I find myself enjoying the text view more because you can see and edit more parameters at the same time. So let's go back to our blank preset. So at its core, the LVX is a delay pedal. So there's 3 great sounding delays. Digital, which we've heard. BBD, which is kind of like your classic warmer analog delay. And then my absolute favorite, the magnetic. You guys know I love tape delay. Additionally, on the front panel, we've got our classic delay controls for time. So if we want to make really short delays for chorus. We've got feedback if we want to make really long delays. We can get into self-oscillation territory. Oops, wrong note there. And we've also got 2 independently assignable knobs and a modulation knob. Gotta have modulation. So let's add in some delay. Right, so on its surface, if you really just want to use it for a quick delay patch, we can get a great sounding modulated delay and control the time and feedback really easily. But where the real power of the LVX is when we go into this menu here. So by clicking this area, we're now in the edit mode. So let's go ahead and start off with our delay. So we have a whole bunch of different structures, which are different types of delay, essentially. I almost like to think of them as entirely different delay pedals all in one. So standard is what we've been hearing so far, the standard delay pedal. We've also got multi-tap, which can be excellent for creating reverbs. We'll look at that later. We've got multi-filter, which is really cool. Each of the different taps in the multi-tap has a different filter cutoff, which we can completely control all of this, right? We can choose where exactly the filter cutoff is for each tap. I'm just messing around quickly here. Right, you can get some crazy rhythms. And then my personal favorite is gonna be the Poly, which is from the Polymoon pedal that Meris does. We're gonna go ahead and go into the second page for Polymoon. So what we're gonna do is let's just check out the different mods. So we can do anything as crazy as, you know, full on octaves up and down. We can do FM. Get as wild as you like, right? But for the sake of what I want to show you guys now, let's just do a nice slow and shallow modulation. We've also got the controls from the Polymoon. We've got more modulation here, which we can add in. So let's turn that back a little bit, and then the dimension knob from the Polymoon, which is right as you add it in, all of a sudden now we are in reverb country. We can cross-feed the two delay lines together to get a really wide stereo image. Let's turn down the dimension so you guys can hear this better. Listen to how that bounces around the stereo field. We can add more taps. Right, like we're only in the delay section and we're only on one of the structures, and already we can get extremely deep in sound design and create some absolutely crazy delays, whether they're rhythmic or these beautiful washed out granular cloud style reverbs. We can even adjust the right side of the stereo spectrum modulation independently. So yeah, let's put an octave on that side. Crazy, right? Let's go ahead and keep this one a little bit more basic as well though. Let's do this. Let's go medium and shallow. Awesome, so I'm gonna leave this with reverb for now. We can go back and change it if we like. But next up, we've got our dynamics. And this is where things get really interesting in terms of it being more than just a delay pedal. So we have a compressor, a swell module, a diffusion module, which is kind of like what we just did before if you want even more diffusion, and then a limiter. So what's great about this is where we can introduce how the signal chain works on the LVX. So for example, the swell, if I play a note, we hear the delay / reverb swell behind it. But if I look at the location, I can actually put this not only on the delay, but I can put it on the delay plus the dry. I can put it on the feedback loop of the delay. I can put it at the post at the very end of the chain. So let's check this out. So if we hear, again, if we bypass our signal, we have a swell. So we're able to independently affect the dry signal, not just the delay. So now as I bring in the reverb / delay we created, we're gonna have an amazing swell sound. The next section is going to be the preamp section. And again, everything here works the same where you can put it anywhere in the signal chain. So we've got tube distortion. I won't go through all of these because we'll be here all day, but we've got transistor, op amp, different types of distortion models, drive, and my favorite, the bit crusher. Bit crushing is a fantastic effect on synths and one of the absolute most underrated ones. So again, if we use our logic from before, we put this just on the dry. If we want to just create a bit crusher and not have any delay at all, we can do that. Got some retro game sounds there, right? But where it can go even cooler is let's start to add some, this is going to get loud very quickly, but we can even add the bit crusher. Instead of it being on the dry, let's put it just in the feedback loop of the delay / reverb. So we've got this absolute wall of noise that's growing because it's in the feedback loop, right? So we can put it on the post. So it's at the very end, we retain the entire spectrum of the bit crusher because it's basically an insert effect at the very end of our chain. We can control the mix, the depth. Lovely. So I'm going to just put this on the pre. Great. Awesome. You can control the decimation frequency, but moving on. So the next part after is going to be the filter. And again, same thing here. We can add this anywhere we like. So one of my favorite ones, we've got comb filters, we've got state variable. We've got a really nice ladder filter emulation, which I think is great for basically shaving off unnecessary parts of the delay. But this goes way further than that. We can use a bandpass filter, a notch filter, a comb filter, really anything. We can spread the filter across the stereo spectrum as deep as you want to go. Let's go ahead and put just on the pre, so just on the delay, let's go ahead and put a high pass ladder filter here. So awesome. So now we've got, as I bring this up, we can shave off that low end from the reverb we don't want. Awesome. So moving on from the filter section, our next one is probably the most impressive and my favorite module on this entire pedal, which is the pitch module. Now, again, remember, we can put this anywhere in our signal chain, and without a doubt, this is the best sounding pitch shifting algorithm I've ever heard. It's better than the pitch shifting algorithm that's actually in my DAW Logic, and I use this all the time. So we've got a whole bunch of different modes, but the really impressive one here is going to be, in my opinion, our polychroma here. So what this is a super accurate, low latency polyphonic pitch shifter. So if I were to, let's do the trick where we just use it on the dry again. So if we put it on the pre and dry, and we turn our delay mix down, now we've essentially got an octave above us that follows us with really low latency and tracks perfectly. As I bring in the mix, now we're creating like a shimmer reverb, right? So let's go back in here and we'll play around with this in the signal chain because I really think it's quite special. So if I were to put this, instead of on our pre, let's put this in our feedback loop. Now, instead of it being affecting the dry and then just shifting the delay up at the same time, it's gonna actually do a cascade of octaves up and up and up and up. Let's turn the mix up so you can hear this. Or if we want to put this on our post, we're going to shift our entire sound up after we're done. This is really powerful for creating these weird, digital but beautiful pads. So listen to this. Right? Like, already right there, we've essentially synthesized a brand new sound from this. Nothing, to the most basic sound in the world. So really, really powerful there. So let's go ahead and put this back on just our pre. So I'm just gonna shift up the delay and leave the dry signal as is. I should probably enable the pedal before I do that so we can hear it. We'll turn down the mix a little bit. Great, so we've got that subtle shimmer effect going. Okay, cool. I also realized I changed it to a low pass for the filter. That's why it sounds so dark. So apologies about that. You guys are getting it live in the moment. There we go. Much better. Okay, cool. So moving on. The next up is, again, I keep saying this about every module, but yet another really useful and high quality module, which is essentially the modulation department. So we've got different choruses, flangers, dynamic flangers, a cassette modulator, which is my favorite, which we're going to use, and even some more stuff like a barber pole phaser. So let's use the cassette modulator. All right, I already love that. Right there, that's something I would use. Beautiful. Again, one more time, just because this trick doesn't get old, let's put it on the dry as well. You've basically got like your own generation loss simulator in full stereo. Let's add in a little bit more of the bass there because it's too cut out here. There we go. Maybe let's take down the modulation just a little bit here. There we go. That's much more reasonable, I think. There we go. That is, now we can hear it without it totally warbling our pitch. So we bring back in our effect and we've got this. Lovely. So now that we have our sound, if we want to take it a full nother step deeper, we can even use either an LFO, an envelope, or even a 16-step sequencer to modulate literally any parameter we've chosen so far. So just so this video isn't 5 hours long, I'm going to do something simple with just one LFO, but we can really get a lot deeper than that. So let's go find the level of the delay. Delay level, let's speed up the LFO a bit. We've got our max here, minimum, and now we should hear a tremolo effect. And we've got 9 whole pages of this, so we can just go literally as deep as we want to. We've also got expression pedal controls, a built-in looper, a tuner for our guitar, and many more features. But I think that's where I'm going to wrap this up for today so we don't end up creating a video that is 10 hours long. So after all that, we've taken our sound from this to this. Alright, so hopefully that gives you a good idea of how the workflow is on the LVX and just how amazing it sounds. So in terms of cons, I don't really have any cons, but I do have a couple things for the wish list. So Meris has included a bunch of algorithms from their previous pedals on here, like the pitch shifting from the Hedra, the bit crusher from the Autobit, and many more. I would have really liked to have seen them add a separate module for reverb and taken one of the Mercury 7 algorithms just so that you can do some interesting things like adding a reverb onto your dry signal, then having clean delay afterwards. Now I understand that they probably don't want to make all of their old pedals redundant, but I do think it would have been cool to have something from each of the pedals since every other one of them is there. Secondly, while I love using the pre plus dry setting in the signal chain to affect my dry playing as well as the delay, I would have loved to have had a dry only setting where I can just pretty much add any of these effects only onto the dry signal and then have a clean delay afterwards. This would be really cool and adds another layer of versatility to the pedal, so hopefully they do this in a future firmware update. Besides that, I have nothing but good things to say about this pedal. I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and I highly encourage you guys to check one out. If you are interested, check out Meris's website in the description below, and thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.